So we've got a good guest here that I want to get to because he can answer a lot of our questions, and that is Jonathan Turley. You heard me mention him earlier. He's a constitutional law professor, and he joins us now. Great to see you, Professor. Let's just start where I left off with the mention of your name, not realizing you were here tonight, so that worked out well. But what extent do you think Barack Obama's executive overreaches may have played with the electorate here today? And what do you think the effect of the tolerance of it by those on the left will now have?
Well, I think that the strategy of President Obama did not turn out very well. You know, his effort to act unilaterally actually produced very few real benefits. He lost repeatedly in court, and in doing so created some very negative precedent for not only his administration but future administrations. So it didn't turn out all that well. But this bill has come due for Democrats. You know, they supported the president when he said he would go it alone. And our system really doesn't have license for people to go it alone. But it's going to be difficult for the Democrats to object to a President Trump who wants to use the same powers. And in the hearings that I testified before in Congress, I would remind members that President Obama would not be our last president. And I do think that now Democrats are going to have to do some soul searching if they object to those same powers being used by a President Trump. They risk being called hypocrites.
Walk us through, just remind us of some of the executive orders that Barack Obama tried. Obviously on immigration and Obamacare, those are the two biggies that come to mind. Well,
those are the big ones. The interesting thing about immigration is that the president sought the changes that he ultimately put through executive authority, and those changes were not accepted by Congress. And what was a very curious moment is he had a State of the Union address where he told Congress that because they would not give him the reforms that he had asked, he intended to circumvent that. And in one of the most curious moments, at least of my life as a constitutional scholar, half of Congress stood up and applauded the notion that they were going to be made obsolete. That's something I think James Madison would have been found quite curious. I mean, he didn't believe that that type of moment would come to pass. But in various areas, everything from internet gambling to health care, as you mentioned, to No Child Left Behind, there's all of these areas the president decided that he would act unilaterally. And the thing about our system is the reason we don't have that option is you only have two choices as president. You either change Congress or you change their minds. Now, if you can't do either, not much gets done in a country that's divided. So I think that he did hurt his legacy, and I think that he alienated many people who felt that his acting unilaterally deprived them of some of their representational authority through Congress.
Hey, Jonathan, it's Brett Baer. Just wondering your thoughts on the decision by Mitch McConnell to hold up moving forward with Merrick Garland and any hearings for the Supreme Court. Politically, it seemed a risky move at the beginning. Now, after Governor Mike Pence on the trail talked a lot about the Supreme Court choices to come, and we see the numbers on evangelicals coming out, potentially because of SCOTUS picks down the road. Your thoughts on how that all played out?
Well, I expect that Judge Garland was watching tonight's developments with particular interest. You know, it's not a good thing in Washington when everyone says nice things about you. And I think that's been the situation with Judge Garland. He is a very well-respected jurist. He is not likely to be renominated, obviously, by President Trump if that comes about. He might not even be renominated by a President Clinton. So the question now as we go forward, you have one vacancy, but there's also 3 justices who are in their advanced years, and they might retire or leave the court. That means that the next president, and it could be a President Trump, could really influence the court literally for decades. I mean, if you're talking about 3 or 4 of a 9-member court, that's going to have the most pronounced effect perhaps in the history of this country on the outcome of various doctrines and rules. Remember, we have a lot of major cases that are really balanced by one vote. It's a 5-4 split. So to replace that number of justices could rewrite the law in this country.
Clearly, some cases this session were 4-4 that would have went the other way if Antonin Scalia was still alive.
That's right. And in some cases, it sort of broke even. You know, in some cases, the left won. In some cases, the right won. But this level of change in the membership of the court is almost unprecedented in this country. I say almost because many people don't realize that our court has been of different sizes. We actually have had 10 justices. We've had as few as 6 justices. The number of justices is not set out in the Constitution. It's a matter for Congress to ultimately decide. But I don't think any president in modern history could have the type of impact that a President Trump or President Clinton could have.
It's really true, given the number of potential vacancies we're likely looking at. Professor Jonathan Turley, great to see you.
Thank you.